Hey everybody, Dr. Rob here. We're Facebook Live. We're doing our little podcast here on Facebook, sort of in association with Proven Health Alternatives. Please take a look at that. We've got a lot of great guests on that. Today we have a really interesting topic, one that really should resonate with everybody there. And the reason it should resonate is those who have this issue can correct it quickly, and those who teach or know people who have this issue can help them. 50% of Americans, slightly over 50 actually, have some form of blood sugar issue and dysregulation. And, you know, with the health pandemic and health coming to the forefront, today's topic is going to be very, very interesting. So we've got a whole bunch of different ideas in blood sugar dysregulation. Some of them is very simply Americans consume too much sugar. 160 pounds of sugar are consumed per year by the average American. That's about 6.3 cups per week. It's 13 to 17 teaspoons per day. We are consuming too much sugar. Many of our sugars are in that white little powdery form, and many of our sugars come in starch. Actually, believe it or not, the number one consumption of calories via sugar is something called high fructose corn syrup. It's anywhere, depending on the study, 15 to 20% of our caloric intake comes from what we call high fructose corn syrup. So much so that in 2014, high fructose corn syrup was labeled as fructose, and most people know that's a fruit sugar, so they thought that was healthy. They've been able to get around it. So we are consumed with a lot of these refined, crappy, fake sugars. When we increase our sugar, we also increase our release of insulin. Ultimately, we become insulin resistant. Many of these things lead to the idea of prediabetes, metabolic syndrome, actually type 2 diabetes, and unfortunately in some instances type 1. They used to say the difference between type 1 and type 2 was adult onset in children. It is not the case anymore. Type 2 diabetes, which is 90% of the diabetic people in America, are all lifestyle oriented. Once again, one of the comorbidities of COVID-19, its resounding effect is a lifestyle comorbidity. So we're going to talk about type 2 diabetes and blood sugar dysregulation today. And before we get off, we're going to give you some suggestions, foods, if you guys need recipes. Just let me go over the groundwork as we go on. Number one, feel free to ask a question. Make a comment. Guys are great at asking questions and comments. More so than that, give me a shout out. Share it. Like it. Understand we're everywhere. We're on YouTube. We're on Instagram TV. So if you don't get it here, you can go look at another platform if you like. We're on Stitcher. We have a Twitter. So everything is Dr. Robert Silverman. My Twitter is Dr. Rob Silverman. Proven Health Alternative is my podcast. So feel free to follow us, share it, make a suggestion. Again, give me a shout out. We're always working in conjunction with other type of health-oriented facilities like Crater Chiropractic, Medford, Oregon. They do a great job with Dr. Mike Swaring and Mike Powell. I know my buddy Dane Donnie, who's on today, he does a great job. Anybody chiropractic or lifestyle-oriented is interested, please look up Dr. Dane Donahue, 8 Weeks to Wellness. And if you're across the pond, if you will, Veronica Hope is your contact over there. They do a great job. Right now, I'm talking about blood sugar and lifestyle, and I know he's standing there going like this, doing his burpees with a jump at the top. So having said all that, we laid the groundwork. Let's move in. It's interesting that there was a study of 7,300 individuals in Cell Metabolism, April 30th, 2020, and succeeded in what we call Science Daily. So these are pretty interesting, critical takeaways, lifestyle-oriented takeaways. So the evidence that people with type 2 diabetes, so obviously they have elevated blood sugar and insulin issue, are at a greater risk of a poor outcome should they be infected with COVID-19. Now that shouldn't be a surprise. However, the next encouraging news may be a little bit of a surprise. People with type 2 diabetes whose blood sugar is well controlled fare much better than those who are more poorly controlled. So even if you've gotten type 2 diabetes, but now you've decided to get on the straight and narrow, you're controlling your blood sugar, even though you have a little damage at the islets of Langerhans, receptor sites. If your blood sugar is now under control, you can get the outcome, which just shows it's never too late. You can always implement lifestyle. So what are the things that you would strongly recommend about the implementation of lifestyle? Decrease your consumption of crappy carbs. What are crappy carbs? Well, white. White is crappy carbs. White flour, white sugar, white potatoes. Those are not good choices. Get them away from your table. Don't stock them in your cabinet. Don't stock them in your refrigerator. Don't have them in your cupboard, whatever it is that you talk about. Don't consume those kind of carbohydrates. When you have a carbohydrate, please mix it with a fat and or also a protein. Have a nice disbursement of foods. There are 3 macronutrients. There's protein, which is typically muscle building. There's fat, which has a plethora of good possibilities, but fat can be used for energy. Fat, compared to carbohydrates, is 2.25 times more caloric and energy enhancing. So if you wanted energy, fat is a better choice. Fat's great for cell membranes. Fat is a friend and not a foe. And then there's carbohydrates. The only thing that a carbohydrate does is you can make some cases for enzymatic reactions. Carbohydrates are purely energy. So you have essential fats, you have essential amino acids for protein, you have no essential carbs. That doesn't mean no carbs, that means limitation of carbs. Don't eat any crappy carbs. If it comes in a box, if it comes in a bag, don't eat it. Jack LaLanne once said, if man makes it, I won't eat it. Stay away from it. In addition to that, one of my friend's brothers from where he grew up is having a little bit of a blood sugar problem. And my friend is a very well-educated man, but he's having little trouble conveying a message to his brother. And I said to him, the power of one. The power of one is one thing every day, one thing every week. Just do one thing. And when you do that one thing and you get some results, the second, third, fourth, and fifth things become easier. So the one thing was no bread. Just stop the bread. I could pick from anything because, he gave me his menu, and his menu was what he thought was healthy. Great example. I'm having cereal, packaged. I'm having it with milk, carbs, and I'm also having it with banana, no protein and no fat. And he thought it was good, and that's okay. So I corrected him. I recommended some avocado with eggs and possibly some nuts and drizzle with olive oil. He goes, you know what? I would have never thought to have that. So people get frustrated when we talk to them about change. They get frustrated because they don't know how. Don't assume everybody knows how. Let's offer them some answers. And there was a really nice little segue, a little answer on how to do it. The power of one thing at a time. And then understand that they need help. And they help because they just don't know. And that's okay. I don't know everything. Nobody knows everything. And that's what we rely on everybody. The mantra that we're doing now? We're all in this together. Well, if that's the case, and I do believe it, then if we're all in this together, we all have to help each other, and we want to decrease people's blood sugar. Nobody's better suited than chiropractors who are appointed at lifestyle and nutrition, functional medicine, functional nutrition practitioners, personal trainers, and integrative medical doctors. I have friends that are integrated. They know all this stuff. So, I understand that typically the medical field sometimes looks the other way. That's not always true. Seek out your practitioners. So let's go on. Here were I see a smile, so that must be something funny.
Mike Howell says, helps when you live with a healthy chef like me.
Yeah, well, that is true, Dr. Powell, Mike. It does help when you have the best chef who's definitely health-oriented and relishes in the creativity of healthy dishes. So when my book finally comes out this year, you will see some of her recipes. As a matter of fact, Dane's wife, Jill, just asked for your muffin recipe that I like so much with the spinach because I was bragging about it. And she will share that with you, Jill, if you're watching right now, whether it be live or Memorex. Nevertheless, here was the summation of the findings. Our findings, these were the docs, indicate that controlling blood glucose may act as an effective auxiliary approach to improve the progress of patients with COVID-19 and pre-existing diabetes. So what they're finding out is that you have this great outcome if you work with people who have maybe the worst comorbidity, because if you have type 2 diabetes, you may have hypertension. If you have type 2 diabetes, you may have CVD. If you have type 2 diabetes, the chances are you definitely have obesity. Is it the type 2 and the obesity, or is it obesity and the type 2? It's the chicken and the egg. You need them both to exist. Having said all that, interesting that when you look at that, you're beginning to realize that you can make the change. So a lot of people, before I do it, want to know how much. 10 micromoles was the difference. 10. So they didn't say what their top number and bottom number was. So if you've ever done fasting glucose, you always want under 100. There's some discussion about that. So if you're at 90 and you went to 80, that was the difference. 10, it's not that much. That's the interesting thing. You can make that change quickly. Not maybe in one day, but probably not in a month or two. You can do it quickly. It's that easy. Start now. Start now. You can do it. Decrease your incidence of comorbidities. It's very interesting. I went back to the office yesterday for the first time. Everybody knows that. Geared up, wearing a mask, wearing a splat mask and everything. I got to tell you, I don't know how first responders wear it. It was hot. I was getting marks and everything on my face. When patients weren't there, I went in my room, closed the door, took it off, caught my breath and everything like that. But it was interesting. Everybody who came in and ventured out was not those who had the comorbidities. So you can get back to work sooner. You can get back to your life sooner if you're in better condition, because your outcomes, if you get exposed, aren't quite as bad. It's just 10 on the blood sugar scale. So researchers said new findings offer 3 messages for people with diabetes. So this would be pointed at people with type 2 diabetes. People with diabetes have a higher risk to die from COVID-19 and develop more severe complications after infection. We know that. Therefore, they should take extra precautions to avoid becoming infected. Kind of speaks to what I said yesterday. People with diabetes should take extra care to keep their blood sugar under good control during the pandemic. Now's your time. Eat well. Cut your carbohydrates. Don't eat fried foods. Take your supplements that help with blood sugar. Omega-3 fatty acids, zinc. You've heard these before. Vitamin D. Some other nutrients, choline, great. Inositol, nisotenic, wow. Another great choice. In addition, once infected, if you get infected in COVID-19, patients with diabetes have their blood glucose level controlled to maintain it in the right range, in addition to any other needed treatment. So if you get infected, keep your blood sugar down, your outcome will be better. And guess what else? Another great thing to help with blood sugar, take care of your gut. We spoke about it several times. It's got to come up once a week, that if you keep your gut in tow, if you avoid the leaky gut, if your gut is in its pristine condition, consuming and digesting your macro and micronutrients, 60 to 70% of digestion occurs. That may be the biggest thing that occurs in your gut. If your digestion and you don't have leaky gut, you have a less of an incidence of blood sugar dysregulation, prediabetes, diabetes type 2, and metabolic syndrome. So not only that, eat gut fortifying foods, fermented foods, garlic, onions. Sugar, believe it or not, is very damaging. It is very detrimental to your gut health. So sugar is a toxin. Let's avoid it. Let's minimize our carbohydrates. Don't tell me that green leafy vegetables are high in carbohydrates. They're not. If you want to have an apple, great. If you want to have an apple by itself, have it with some almond butter just to hold off the glycemic index and what we call the glycemic load. Glycemic index is how much a food raises your blood sugar. Glycemic load is the glycemic index times the grams. So if you're eating a little bit and it's high in the glycemic index, your load, which is what you should look at, isn't too much. If it's sort of high, but you eat a lot, like an apple, and you have 4, it's too much. So if you have a smidgen of a banana, I happen not to eat them that much, it's not. It may be high in the glycemic index, but it's the load. The load is the true amount. That's the number that we want to look at. And down the road, you really want to look at insulin response. So again, good choices of food. Keep your gut healthy. Always comes back to the gut. The gut is a player in all the things that we talk about. No?
What about berberine?
Berberine is a great choice. Love berberine. Berberine is a hidden gem. Berberine is great not only for the gut. Berberine also stimulates what we call the AMPK pathway. Berberine is great for LPS in the gut, and berberine is also excellent for great blood sugar regulation versus dysregulation. And I'm sure that's Mike Powell, and I appreciate that.
Nope, it's not.
Oh,
That's Pierre. So
Thank you, Pierre.
Mike Powell has been giving you a lot of shout out, and he wants to know what's your favorite fat.
my favorite fat is monounsaturated fats. And my favorite food is avocado. You know, I never ate avocado, and my wife snaked it. And now I love avocado. I even eat avocado ice cream. I'm admitting it. I have some coconut milk ice cream too. But avocado ice cream is the jam. Without question. Tom Brady got that one right. I personally think Tom Brady got a lot right, but my wife doesn't like him. So anyway, that's not all about that. Let's go New York. We beat him twice.
Shanae says it's funny because this week her studies on blood sugar.
That's great. So she's studying to be a lifestyle coach, and blood sugar is a critical element. I'm sure my buddy, Coach Chris Guerrero's on, and he talks about blood sugar all the time, decreasing people's blood sugar, people's blood sugar response. I mean, you don't want it to go up and down. So think of this. What we used to eat when we took a test, we'd have a banana, and we go, yeah! Oh, 20 minutes into the test, you get the and the drop. However, if you had a medium chain triglyceride, which is an extraction from coconut or an avocado, you'd be, right across. So you don't want anything to spike your blood sugar. By the way, in reference to blood sugar and fat versus carbohydrates, fats have shown to be very effective, extremely effective for those in athletic events, much more effective than those that have carbohydrate ingested events.
Good fat, you mean?
Good fat. Good fat. And good fats, let's go through that. So anything fried is not a good fat. Good fats. Let's start with fruits. You want a fruit? Let's start with the fatty fruits. Olives, avocados, and coconuts. In the order of avocado and olives, great. Coconuts, good. But don't just eat coconuts. Don't eat the whole tree, have a coconut. So those are 3 good fats. Berries and apples are really good fats. If I exclude a few, you guys can shout them out. Stay away from the citrusy fruits, too high in the glycemic index. No cereals. Stay away from those Frosted Flakes, Rice Krispies, whatever. And if you're going to have a milk, have an alternative milk. Don't have the dairy, because dairy structurally with the proteins very damaging to your gut. Damage to your gut, what happens? You're going to have a higher incidence of blood sugar dysregulation. So I used to do gut to diabetes 3, 4, 5 years ago as a topic with all the nutritional companies I used to work with. It's been accepted in the functional medicine, functional nutrition field. I just want to bring that back to you. So again, let's go over some recipes. Let's have breakfast. Now, eggs can be what we call an inflammatory food if you happen not to be allergic to eggs. So what did I have for breakfast this morning? That's a good question. Oh, it was a little different. My wife did some British style. So what was the flour?
It was cauliflower pizza.
It was a cauliflower pizza. It had crust. It had beans. I'm not a big baked beans. I'm not a big baked beans fan, but they were there. You got to go with the flow.
Organic all natural hot dog.
Organic all natural hot dog, and organic free range eggs. It was delicious. You could have some eggs. I don't know if I would have 3 to 5 yolks, but I could have 3 to 5 whites with 1 or 2 yolks. Again, you can have your avocado. Again, you can have your nuts. I had my several cups, not here today, of organic coffee, purity coffee. Dave, I know, is watching. So I had that. I had 2 cups of that, and I had a little MCT powder that went in there, and I took a little, I think it was monk fruit or stevia. I think it was monk fruit this morning, and I put it right in there because I like things a little sweeter. Most people would never steal my coffee. They think it's too sweet.
Almonds?
Almonds, great choice. Almonds, pistachios, all raw, cashews, no peanuts. Peanuts is not a nut. It's actually the cousin to a legume, high inflammatory. No peanuts. Everybody loves peanuts. If you like peanuts and peanut butter, you'll love almonds and almond butter. So consider that. Also, it's the mixture of the food. You got to have the right mixture of foods. So there's nothing wrong with adding some vegetables, nothing wrong with adding some fiber. So fiber. So if you're going to have a fruit, don't have a fruit juice. Got to have that fiber in it because the fiber slows down the assimilation of the sugar. Sugar's not a good thing. It fascinates me, and not to go off on a tangent, how so many people want to give somebody, if they behave well, something with sugar.
What would be the ideal probiotic for type 2 diabetic?
The ideal probiotic for type 2 diabetic, who asked that?
Stephen Glean.
Stephen, that's a great question. What's the ideal probiotic? Many of them have good outcomes on type 2 diabetes and blood sugar. Let me give you a few that have been researched that I recommend for my patients. Lactobacillus acidophilus, B. lactis, L. plantarum, B. longum, L. reuteri, Cassie. So that's about 6. So I like a good, what I would call population diversity for them. Those are the ones that I found to be extraordinarily effective. That berberine was a really good choice also. L-carnitine also, because it's good with triglycerides and everything of that nature. Vanadyl sulfate, still old and works. Chromium, really a good choice. They're not probiotics, they're minerals and nutrients.
Stephen wants to know more about monk fruit.
Monk fruit extract, I'm going to try and say it right, Lohangao. Yes, no? Lohangao. I'm trying. So all my Cantonese speaking friends, you can correct my pronunciation. You can blame Mei. I'm trying hard. Monk fruit is an extraction of a fruit that's like 300 times more sugary than sugar, but has no effect on blood sugar at all. Most artificial sweeteners, sand, stevia, and monk fruit actually are very deleterious. They raise your incidence of dementia and stroke because they damage the microvilli. Stevia is interesting. I call it the girl with the curl. There's really good things and there's really bad things with it. So stevia has its place, but monk fruit so far is the forerunner for artificial flavoring. Good, great. So, I love the questions. Keep them flying. Keep it coming. Keep sharing it. Let's keep going. You know, we see a lot of other key opinion leaders, and we had the father of functional medicine last week on Friday. We're going to have some other key opinion leaders coming on. I will give you the schedule in advance. Tomorrow, we're going to have pro race car driver Lawson Aschenbach, and his stories all about Crohn's disease and how he got over it. You're going to love it. Tune in tomorrow. I know we got another question.
Mike Powell, can you speak to chromium and glucose regulation?
Yeah, chromium has a great effect on glucose regulation. It's so funny, chromium picolinate. I mean, we used to use it 10, 20, 30 years ago, and no one talks about it. It's still equally as effective. The literature is extraordinarily long and lengthy. It's robust, if you will. So it's a great choice to that. You know, I'm a big proponent in teaming every morning with my probiotics too. So I think that was a great inquiry also. Okay, excellent. So there's some terms. People had asked me, Dr. Bland had went over a whole bunch of things. So I wanted to go over and share with you some immune terms and the concept. I wanted to take that step forward, but I did want to say, I know I got a little sidetracked with the question, sorry, about the KOLs. So many other very well-known guys and gals who do a great job. But I have to tell you, you're going to get a lot of good information here. And sometimes, and many of the times, we are first because we read it the night before that morning and we bring it. So just know that definitely share this with the other key opinion leaders and your friends, because we are early, because we're now watching, and some of them, I would never say copy, but some of them are seeing what we're doing and recirculating that, and it should. It's all information. It's not our information. It's not theirs. It's the information that's needed. But just so you know, we're getting leading edge, cutting edge first right here. So it should be Proven Health Alternatives first, because we're doing it every day, Monday to Friday, 1 to 1:30. So let's go over some of the terms. Number one, immune support. I like the idea of immune support. You're supporting your immune system. However, you want to have immune balance. So you want to balance your immune system. Remember, there were actually three parts of your immune system. Number one is barriers. Your skin is a barrier. Your gut lining is a barrier. Your microbiota is a barrier. Your digestive enzymes is a barrier. Taking that out, your actual physical immune system has those two arms. Arm number one is your innate immune system. You bought it when man was created. Your innate immune system really is a search and destroy immune system. And interesting in that it search and destroys. It has macrophages and neutrophils to kill things, white blood cells. Then you have your adaptive or your acquired immune system. It's acquired because you acquired it at some point through human evolution, and it's adaptive because the immune system now adapts. And it's a recognized and a memorized arm of your immune system. It recognizes the pathogen, it tries to attack it, and then it memorizes, by releasing antibodies. Two that come to mind, your IgM early and IgG late, and that's what you do in your antibody tests, whether you're testing for the N protein, the S protein, or whatever, which we're going to go in more detail later in the week on. So you've got these two arms to immune support, immune balance. You want them balanced because your dietary habits can increase your innate, decrease your adaptive, and then you're going to have an imbalance. You're not going to have a proper immune response. It's not balanced, it's not supportive. Without an immune system, without a vaccine, without a drug, you're really, can get overwrought and get extraordinarily sick from the pathogen. So what we want is immune balance to allow for immunosupport. The word immune boosting has a positive sound, but we don't mind if we boost our immune system a certain amount. But when you boost one part of the immune system and it's overactive, that can lead to a lot of detrimental outcomes with people. In addition, there's something called immunosenescence, which speaks to the deterioration of the immune system as we age. So we want to slow that down without question. And the interesting takeaway here is your adaptive or acquired immune system is affected more than your innate immune system. Your ability to make antibiotics proficiently decreases as we age. So if that's true, which it appears to be very true, your innate immune system goes on overdrive, and that's where that cytokine storm comes from. In addition, senolytics. So senolytics, just look at the word. Seno, cell, lytics, break up. It's the breaking up and the breaking down a cell, and that can not necessarily be a positive, but it can be if you're breaking down old cells to make new cells. Immunorejuvenation. You release all these white blood cells, red blood cells, and platelets every 10 seconds, millions of them. And your ability to make new cells is expressed right there. So that's immunorejuvenation. One of the ways to get immunorejuvenation is through the process of autophagy. You get that from intermittent fasting. Intermittent fasting is also shown to decrease blood glucose levels and diabetes. What a good choice now. See how we're tying everything in? So with those immunorejuvenation, you have that ability to get new cells. Autophagy means self-devouring. You eat your old cells, use that energy to make a new cell. That new cell is rejuvenated with proper immune cell function. Therefore, you're getting stronger. I almost want to play the Rocky music, getting stronger now. That's what immunorejuvenation is. So think of it like that. Your cells are becoming rocky, going from that I can't do the one-handed push-up and running up the stairs to be able to run up the stairs and going the distance with Apollo Creed, my favorite movie. I'm sure everybody knows that. My wife's rolling her eyes now. Nevertheless, so that's immunorejuvenation. And then you have immunophenotyping, which gets interesting, where we're affecting our epigenetics and our gene expression, and that gets really deep. So there were some terms that people had asked if I could review. I wanted to review it. So tomorrow you can be better than you are today because you can start taking care of yourself. If I can segue back to my friend's brother, he's going to be not only better, he's going to be much better. And it's all by the power of one, doing one thing. Do one thing every day so it doesn't seem like the list is so long. So I have my list over here of 10 things I need to do. What am I going to do? First thing, then get to the second. And before you know it, all 10 things will be done after I eat lunch after this. Are we good? So again, shout outs, comments, feel free to share. I will ask a social media question. We are trying to use the laptop all the time, and it's very hard to tag on the laptop, tag all our affiliates. So if anybody has a suggestion on how to do that, I would like to know. So I'm going to ask everybody out there to add that into your comment or suggestion list. In addition, shout out, share, like, look at the other platforms. All right. Well, it's always been my pleasure. Tomorrow, again, we're going to have Lawson Aschenbach, pro race car driver, really talking at 1 o'clock about Crohn's disease and all that he's overcome and how we work together. I think you're really going to enjoy that. And Thursday, I think we're going to have a special guest where you'll see us in a split screen. So love to hear your feedback. Dr. Rob, always yours in health.